Hey everyone, my name is Sam. Thanks for checking out this video. If you get to the end and liked it, then subscribe, bell notification, give the video a thumbs up. Sorry if I feel like come off kind of annoyed. This is like the 4th time I'm recording this video for a plethora of reasons. But the most recent reason, my eye's been super fucked up and I tried to record this twice and I tried to come off as nice as possible, but I was so frustrated from my eye that I came off so bitchy, like beyond like normal levels, that I was like, I'm not posting that. So I had to wait for my eye to like stop being fuckety. And so now I'm just taking a break between watching Vincenzo, which please, can someone else be watching Vincenzo? It's on Netflix. It's a K-drama. It is so damn good. This dude, like, he was part of the Italian Mafia, and then he comes back, and then there's like this whole like drug pharmaceutical company overlord battle thing going on. It's amazing. It's so good. And then just streaming BTS's new song. So we're taking a break from that, and we're gonna talk about the books that I plan on reading in the month of June. Just like in May, I was devoting my TBR predominantly to middle grade, and less focusing on my like monthly goals that I wanted to do each month this year, even though I did end up hitting, I think, most of them, if not all of them. Same thing this month. I'm focusing on Pride. So that's what I'm doing. I was gonna see if I could like find some books on my shelf from Indigenous authors to put in here as well, because there's a lot of stuff happening in Canada for Indigenous history and that sort of stuff. But I generally read those books as soon as I get them. So I don't really have any of that. So we're focusing predominantly on Pride, and I have a buttload of arcs in here, so I'm really knocking out several of those. Don't think I'm gonna get through all of these books, but I'm being overly optimistic because it's the summer and, you know, whatever. So these are the books that I'm going to attempt to read in the month of June. And if you're one of those people who bitches that people drink in their videos, fuck off. That's just what I do. I consume caffeine at a concerning level. That's just what I do. Alright, starting off the month, I'm going to try and read Troubled Girls. I managed to get this through the Libro librarian complimentary copy program thing, and it's supposed to be a queer Thelma and Louise retelling with sprinkles of Riverdale vibes, and for fans of Mindy McGinnis. Now, I don't know what publisher or marketing team needs to hear this, but Riverdale is like perpetually just trolled by everyone for being so bad, so I don't know why you want to make any comparisons of a book to that, but, you know, that's you. Is Wasnt already snoring? He already had a big nap today. Anyways, I'm curious about this one, just because I got the arc, but also I read the Thelma and Louise retelling that came out, was it last year or in 2019, from, not Mindy McGinnis, Brittany Cavallaro. I knew it was going to come to me. Brittany Cavallaro and Emily Henry, and I actually enjoyed that. This is supposed to be queer, so I also plan on, this month picking up A Heart So Fierce and Broken and A Vow So Bold and Deadly. So this is books 2 and 3 in the Cursebreakers trilogy from Bridget Kemmerer. I read the first book like 2 years at least ago now, but it's still in here. It hasn't left my brain. I don't know why. It's still in here, hard, firm, so I don't need to do a reread of that. So I'm going to be finishing off this series, and it's, I slotted it in before I was thinking about Pride Month and whatever months and months ago on my TBR Excel spreadsheet, because that's how I organize my shit, and it's one of the challenges in the TBR and Beyond. We do a yearly challenge like list. One of the prompts is to read a Cinderella retelling or a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I don't really own any any Cinderella retellings. I think the only one that I really know of off the top of my head is Cinderella's Dead, and I don't actually own that one. So I figured I already own these. I can finish off a series, and despite my detestment of the Beauty and the Beast retellings, because they are never ending when I'm still here waiting for a fucking Atlantis retelling, I really enjoyed book 1. I was quite hesitant going into it, but I really enjoyed it. So I am very excited to be picking up books 2 and 3. And I'm going to be picking up In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lucan. I'm so excited about this. It's just a gorgeous cover, but it was pitched everywhere before Mackenzie Lee's downfall, I think, as like Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue meets Pirates of the Caribbean, which heavily piqued my interest, but sounds like it's basically gay pirate. So super excited for that. The main character is, what was his name? Not Milo. Now I'm thinking of Atlantis. It's not Milo. Tal. And he's the prince, but he's not able to go on like a grand tour because I guess he's next in line. They don't want to like cause, you know what guys did on the grand tour centuries ago, you know? But then also like they're afraid he might manifest powers, I guess, and that impacts like a recently developed peace treaty or something like that in this world, and then they meet a dashing right after they're about to leave, or when they do leave, Athlin. It sounds like something I'm really going to dig, and it's a standalone, so I've been really digging fantasy standalones, especially even in the YA realm, so high hopes for this one. I am also going to be picking up Victory's Greater Than Dead. This is another one I got through that Libro library catalog, complimentary copy thing. I honestly just grabbed it because it has a person with purple hair on the cover, if you can't tell. Big fan of colored hair. And I don't know a ton about this book, but the main character is like, I don't know if cyborg is the right word, but like they're a carbon copy of someone famous in space, and then they're pretending to be human on Earth. And so I'm getting the sense that it's like after some shit has happened on planet Earth, and that's it. That's really all I know. Honestly, just sci-fis really don't disappoint me for the most part. I haven't read one in a long time that I was like, I really regret wasting, like, I really regret spending time on this. I haven't had that, whereas so many YA fantasies are just like this big like thing in the middle. I'm like, I can't tell any of you apart. That isn't happening with sci-fi, so I figured I'd give that a shot, and it is labeled as LGBTQ on Goodreads. I don't know in what capacity, but I figured slot it into Pride Month. I am also going to be picking up Lost in the Neverwoods. This is Aidan Thomas's new book. So he's the author of Cemetery Boys. I read that sometime last year, and we are doing a read of that in the TBR and Beyond group. So if you need an excuse or help to pick that book up to get through it, feel free to join in. But this is his new book that I think hit New York Times after it came out. I'm pretty sure, at least for a couple weeks. And I knew the author's name, and it became available in the Libro catalog, so I grabbed it, and I am just curious and interested. I'm assuming this is going to have Latinx and queer rep again, just the way Cemetery Boys did. I'm also going to be picking up These Feathered Flames by Alexandra Overy. I think this, I don't know why I slotted this in, because I think originally when I got it, I was like, ooh, we can read this in the winter because it's Russian-y, and it's pitched everywhere as like for fans of Shadow and Bone, and then they didn't do like any marketing, even though it came out like right when the Shadow and Bone series came out. Can't explain that. But I don't know, maybe this has queer rep, maybe it has an LGBTQ tag on Goodreads or something like that. I don't know. Either way, I'm gonna pick it up. Very curious. I feel like I trash YA fantasy so much in the last like year and a half on this channel, but like I'm just so desperately in need of something that stands out. Like I've read so few YA books that have been like able to like stand alone in my head and not morph into this blob. One being Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and the other one being The Gilded Ones this year. Those are like the only two that are really like standing out in my brain right now. And like I just really want to get into a YA fantasy the way I got into like Shadow and Bone when it first came out, and like maybe because it's Russian-y, this will happen. I haven't heard really any reviews on it. I just know there's there's a set of sisters, and they're like separated to go train in the land of Turin. The twin heirs are born. Their fates are decided at a young age. While Izaveta remained at court, learning the lies and deceptions needed to survive as the future queen, Asya was taken to train by her aunt and the mysterious and deadly Firebird, who ensured magic remained balanced in the realm. But before Asia's training is done, all of a sudden her, like, the ancient power starts, and they know that the queen's then dead, and then they suddenly have to, like, prove themselves and figure out who the hell's gonna run shit. And I imagine if it's Russian-y setting, that someone's gonna die. At least someone. At least one person. No one survives in Russian history. Then I'm going to be picking up Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellfleur. This is the first book in, like, I don't know if series is the right word, but the author has a new book coming out. It's labeled as, like, this series book 2, but it's different characters, you know what I mean? But it's an adult contemporary romance. We have people pretending to date, which we always know how that goes, like adult contemporary romances. And it's supposed to be a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. One of the characters is named Darcy, and one is Elle Jones. So I'm curious. I think one's like an astrologer, or not astronomy, astrologer. That's like the people into like signs, like Taurus and Cancer and stuff, right? Yeah, I think that's one of them is like that. I'm curious about this. I've heard really positive things across the board, and I also really like that someone has, I maybe it's not her real last name, but the author's last name Bellfleur is pretty dope. That's a really good last. Then I'm going to be picking up The Key to You and Me. This is another one I got through the Libro library catalog complimentary copy thing. Not something I would generally read. It's a YA contemporary romance, but I figured it's got a female romance and the cover is cute, and I got it for, you know, through the library program thing through Libro, so I should probably give it a read and see if it'll fit for our collection development, because my job when I'm buying books is to buy more diversely, because it was not being done before. So I'm curious about this. The main character, I don't know if her aunt owns, or grandma, something like that, her grandmother or her aunt or something like that owns, like, or lives near, and she starts working for the summer at like this Olympic horse riding camp or whatever, so she's like an equestrian person, and then her grandmother or aunt or something like that hire someone in town to teach her to go driving, and I'm assuming that is the relationship right there that potentially happens. I'm going to be picking up Yesterday's History, another one through the Libro complimentary program. I'm curious about this. It's like a weird time travel-y one. The main character like gets like a liver transplant, and then the ability, when he gets the new liver comes with the ability to time travel. They don't know that when he gets the liver, and then he ends up switching back and forth between like present day and then like 1960s or something like that, Boston. Sounds wonky and weird, and I'm super curious about that. I'm a little cautious because I know that the author had a book that almost came out that was A Place for Wolves last year, and then it ended up being hella problematic, I guess, and centering American voices in a place that was weird to center American voices and all this other stuff. So I'm hoping this is less problematic, but I am going in kind of like a little wary off the top of my head that, yeah. I'm going to be picking up Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. I am so excited about this. I don't own a physical copy of it because the book is like $40 in Canada, which is bullshit. But I really I like the US and the UK copies, but I really love the North American covers. So I'm hoping I like it, and then I can have an excuse to buy it, because I did get a gift card for my birthday, which would cover it. But I'm just cautious going in, being like, I loved 1,000 Ships, but man, did I not like the book Circe. And everyone seems to be loving this, but I'm like, this could be another Circe situation. But anyways, I'm cautiously hopeful about this. The main character and her sister are like the princesses of Crete or something like that, and her brother is like the Minotaur, and someone is brought to be the sacrifice for the Minotaur. That's the kind of general gist I got. Everyone seems to be loving the book. I made a request on NetGalley the other day for Girl 1. It's supposed to be like, I've seen everywhere it's like pitched as like kind of like for fans of The Power. And I read The Power and thought it was really interesting. So I was like, ooh, I requested Girl 1. And then I got an email like a day later saying I had been pre-approved for Macmillan's audio on NetGalley. I am auto-approved. Now what? Thank you. I don't know why, because I don't have the greatest of percentage for completion and all that shit on NetGalley. But anyways, I got Girl 1, really excited. Then I got the Library of Edinburgh? No. The Library of the Dead as well as The Maidens. Because I got pre-approved, so they just let me go and grab them. The Library of the Dead is supposed to be like a books. It's set in, people are going around like Scotland and Edinburgh, and it looks creepy and weird, and I know it's a weird time of year to read something that looks kind of spooky from the cover, but I'm into it. And The Maidens, I am super curious about this one. I was going to get through the library, but there's a giant holds list already for it. Like, giant, because it is the author of The Silent Patient. I did not read The Silent Patient, but I didn't realize what I was watching until I was like halfway through the video, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I don't need to read the book now. But I watched a video from Stephanie Sue. She's a mukbanger / storyteller on YouTube, and she did an episode, one of her videos, where she was like telling the story of The Silent Patient. So she read it and was doing like a book club to kind of talk about it, and I was like, oh, that actually sounds like a really cool book and like a big twist I would not have seen coming. So I am very curious about this. I love the cover, and I genuinely don't know if I even read the summary. I just saw it and like requested it and got it. So I'm gonna rereading all 3 of those. Also going to be picking up A Snake Lies Waiting by Jin Young. This is book 3 in the Legends of the Condor Heroes series. So book 1 was translated by Anna Underwood, book 2 is Gigi Chang, and then book 3 they're both working together. And book 4's translation is supposed to come out, I believe it's in August. So I will be caught up by then that point. I don't think I can regurgitate this. I honestly don't know that the summary really matters. If you read book 1 and 2 and liked them, then just continue on with this. It's a giant big epic. I can't regurgitate it. It's a wild series. It's really well translated is the big thing. I went in super hesitant because I really disliked A Winter's Promise, that translation from English to English from French. Really disliked that, and I haven't really read many that like the story sticks with you, like the tension and all that stuff sticks with you when it's translated, but this one is really well translated. So I'm curious to see how these two lovely ladies work together in the translation, but I have pretty high hopes because book 1 and 2 were fantastic. Widow Queen. I am very curious about this one. So this is a translated from Polish because I'm more interested now in reading translations since I've had a good experience, obviously, with A Hero Born and Snake Lies Waiting. So this was pitched in a bunch of my work meetings for us because it's for fans of The Witcher. It's originally written in Polish, so it's being translated and released in, or maybe it has now been released. I don't know. I got the audio through the Libro Librarian copy, so I grabbed that as soon as I saw it. Really excited. The main character is like one of the daughters of like the king, and I don't know if it's based on a real queen. I couldn't get a total sense from the summary. The summary is quite short and vague, honestly. I couldn't get the sense if she was a real person in history, a potential person in history that we've forgotten, or like completely made up. I don't know, but her father is intending to, you know, marry the daughters off for marriage alliances, but she is not down for that, and she intends to rule and have power and has zero interest in marriage. So I'm very curious about this one. I don't know that I don't have any like dark adult fantasy / history really going right now, so I feel like this could be a good thing, and I think it's the start of a series. I'm fairly certain it's the start, so hopefully I like it. Going to be picking up Twice Shy by Sarah Hogel. This is the author of You Deserve Each Other, which was a book that came out of nowhere last year, the year before, that I absolutely freaking loved. It's so good. Still highly recommend it. So this is the author's new book. It is not a part of a series or anything like that. The main character, Mabel, gets gifted or willed by her great aunt. Her like estate, like her or I guess estate is like in a will. She gets granted like gifted or willed the house, and then she shows up to like get a fresh start and in life, and then shows up and finds out I guess the former groundskeeper was also gifted or willed parts of the house, so they have to like work together, and you can imagine it's an adult romance contemporary. You know where it goes from there. I'm very curious about this one. It is surprisingly short, but I'm super excited for this. Sweet and Bitter Magic. I am hopeful but hesitant about this one. Again, YA fantasies haven't been working for me, but this has some pretty decent reviews, and we're doing a group read in the TBR and Beyond groups. I figured I'd give it a shot and hope maybe it'll be a pleasant surprise in that one that stands out with Legendborn and the Gilded Ones in my brain. I'm curious. I like the concept of it. So there's two characters. One is a witch with a curse, and then one is like someone in, I think she's a royal that suddenly develops powers and wasn't supposed to have powers or something along that line. So they have to like come together to solve a conflict. So I'm always a big fan of the concept of like anything to do with witches, not in like just an exclusive like witch realm, like when they have to interact with other communities, because I just always find that's so interesting and you can do so much with it, and like it plays on the whole like are witches good or evil in your brain kind of stereotypes and all that stuff. So I'm very curious about this one. May the Best Man Win, one that came in. I was surprised actually it was available through Libro in that librarian complimentary copy program. I just feel like I know so many people who really wanted an arc of it and just never heard back on it, but I got the audio of it. The main character is like, I don't know if, I'm assuming they're on rival teams, but the main character is on the lacrosse team, and he's playing his ex-boyfriend or something like that on another team, and I just know that the main character is transgender, and I'm curious about this. I don't really read many books that have sports in them, but the whole concept of being rivals and sports is something that always interests me. I've played sports for like most of my life, and I watch sports. I haven't really gotten super into them in the last few years since I finished school and whatever, but I really enjoy women's ice hockey predominantly, but that's kind of it. So I'm curious to see how this will play out, and I like that it's playing on just like the rivals in sports and everything like that. No one I ever played hockey with was ever dating anyone within our team or on opposing teams, which makes sense with our age. But there's this thing, I don't know if people are aware, but there's several couples now of people who played, one partner plays for Team Canada and the other plays for Team USA on the women's ice hockey, that they keep getting married. They keep getting like dating, and there's one that I can't remember what their names are. I think one's Caroline Ouellette. I'm not 100% sure, but one of them plays for Team USA and the other one played for Team Canada, and they're married and live in like Montreal now and have 2 kids. So it's a reoccurring thing that seems to keep happening, probably because the women in Canada, on Team Canada, still end up playing hockey for college in the States, so they know each other from as something other than rivals, right? So I'm curious about this one. I am so excited. One last stop. I'm reading that as soon as it gets into my hands. I have a paperback of this pre-ordered, and I also got the audio through that Libro complimentary program, which I'm shocked something that was so in demand was available through that program. I know that it's a contemporary romance. I think there's supposed to be a little bit of sci-fi or fantasy or something like that, elements sprinkled in. Everyone I know was like, it wasn't what I was expecting, someone coming from Red, White, and Royal Blue, but it was a good book if you just look at it as its own book, and it's just something different than what I expected from Casey McQuiston, which, fair enough, they can write whatever the heck they want. So I'm very excited about this one. Very excited. I think, honestly, the only thing going into this that I really think is, I think the main, I don't even want to say, the only thing I'm going in knowing, because I'm not even 100% sure, I think the main character is bisexual, and that's kind of all I know at this point. Chosen in the Beautiful. I have been excited about this since the cover dropped last year. It's got the cover is so pretty. I'm just so eager to read this. I think it's a retelling of, I think it's The Great Gatsby. I just know the main character, and I think I remember seeing on the summary that the word, like, it was one of the, it had like 3 words to start like the summary, and I think one of them was like immigrant. So I'm like, okay, so we're going to be talking about a plethora of things. And the author, I don't want to even, it's this author, you can see on the name, I don't know how to pronounce her name quite just yet. I think it's Niveau, but like, I don't know. I read her other book, what was it called? I read The Empress of Sultan Fortune by this author and really, really liked it, and I own the audiobook of this one and the sequel, and I want to buy the physical copy of the sequel soon, but my focus right now is on The Chosen and the Beautiful, because that cover is just gorgeous, and I'm very excited. It just looks like very, like, 1920s. Honestly, I don't know that I'll be able to pick up on any of the retelling aspects, though, because I don't think I've ever read The Great Gatsby. Everyone I know had to read it in school at some point. I somehow dodged that bullet. I just ended up having to read King Lear 4 goddamn times. But everyone I know that has read The Great Gatsby doesn't seem to have liked it all that much. Like, they're like, I had to read it for, you know, whatever being, and to analyze why it's a classic and all that stuff. But I'm just going to go in hoping I like it. I'm going to be reading The Wicker King by Kate Ankrum. I'm confused by the summary of this one. I think it's the other one, the summary is kind of vague. So the main character, I think it's his best friend or whatever, starts like seeing things, and they think it's like a mental health issue, and then as they're going through the book or whatever, I guess they find out that maybe like we're not all seeing what is actually there, you know? So, I mean, like, the summary of it left me very confused as to what the actual book was about. But it's also labeled as LGBT, so I don't know if that means that there's a romance between those two, or I don't know. I don't know. But I'm curious about this. I really hope I like this, because I really want to get into this author. There seems to be like a cult around this book specifically. But I was curious because this author has a book coming out soon, or has recently come out, called Darling, which is supposed to be a Peter Pan retelling. And everything she was saying about doing like the research and fixing a lot of the problematic things with Peter Pan, I got so excited. And then they dropped the cover for that book, and it's just so blah. And I was so like, oh. So I want to like this one, so I have an excuse to like be like, you should go read Darling. You should. And lastly, I plan on picking up The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joanne He. This is her new debut work, or I don't know, new work under a new publisher after her old publisher stopped paying her royalties and then lost the copyright and then kept selling the book, even though it wasn't theirs to sell anymore. That whole shit mess. So this is her new work. I think it's under Macmillan, I want to say. I think that's the head that it's under, and that's where Descendant of the Crane ended up getting moved now, so we should be getting a new copy, a new cover and whatever of that book, so I'm excited about that. So this, though, is a dystopian kind of eco-climate thing, whilst Descendants of the Crane is like a traditional YA fantasy. Really good, but traditional YA fantasy, so they're very different. The main characters, one wakes up like on a desert island, Yeah, she has no idea how she got on this island. She just like woke up and was there. So she has only the rickety house by the sea and an android she built for company and a single memory. Somewhere beyond the horizon, she has a sister, and it's up to C to escape the island to find her. And then a world away, the 16-year-old STEM prodigy Casey is looking to escape the eco-city that she lives in. And so it sounds a little bit kind of like iRobot, but more with the context of like eco, like the world, the climate change, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm curious, very, very curious about this one, and huge congratulations to her after all the shit she went through with her first publisher, just trying to get the money that they owed her, because being a debut author of color is not difficult enough, that this hit New York Times and indie bestseller. So I'm very excited about this. I don't know that I've actually heard many reviews of it. I just know a lot of people were excited to get it. So reading it ASAP. Now that I've said those out loud, my reading goals for each month was supposed to be to finish one series a month, so I'll be finishing the Cursebreakers. One was a book that you've owned for 12 plus months. I don't know that I actually did this. I have this one. I had an arc of the Wicker King through work like years ago that I ended up giving away. Does that kind of count? I don't know. A book released in the last 60 days, definitely, but we can put in deeper waters. I have several arcs. Read one novella or graphic novel. I have The Chosen and the Beautiful. Read one back catalog from Audible or Libro or whatever. So I picked, I think, The Widow Queen, because I think that was one of the first few I got through the Libro program a couple months ago now. And then 3 BIPOC or queer authors. I have Casey McQuiston, Joanne He, and Kay Ankrum. And then a new to me author is J. Robin Brown, who's the author of The Key to You and Me. And then I definitely have 3 different genres in here. So the only one I didn't hit was having one of my old books. But I have been cleaning up my bookshelf an awful lot in the last couple years, the last couple months. Like I'm always actively weeding it. Every time I put stuff on, I generally pull a couple books off and I'm like, I'm not gonna read this. So I don't know how many of those I really still have. Like, I think the only one that I know stands out is, like, The Tiger's Daughter, which I will eventually get to. It's just sitting there. So I don't know that there's many... Oops. I don't know that there's many else that I have on my shelf that are that old. I'd have to go look through my Goodreads to be read shelf and find older stuff. Yeah, probably. Anyways, those are the books that I plan on reading this month. I'm going to put them on a Goodreads shelf. And I will link that Goodreads shelf down below. Feel free to let me know what you plan on reading. If you've read any of these, what your thoughts were. Please go watch Vincenzo. I need to talk to people about it. The show is 20 episodes, and each episode is like an hour and a half long. So it's like a commitment. But the end of each episode so far has been like genius. The writing is so good, and I know the main character is like a mafia villain, whatever, but he's very attractive, and he has that moral grayness that's like, sure, he's done shit for the mafia, but he's not a pharmaceutical company in Korea. So, like, is he really the villain? Anyways, that is this video. I will see you all next Tuesday for, I don't know, either a May haul or May wrap up. We'll see what it ends up being. And because I missed a couple weeks, I will try and find a way to, I'll probably do in June a April and May cover tier ranking thing instead of just 1 month. So I will see y'all then.